as we transition to the next conversation, which is related, about there's a head count from the Charleston Post and Courier that suggests a majority of lawmakers in both chambers want the flag to come down, but in both House and the Senate, nearly half of them declined to respond on how they would vote. So there's still some tension there.
But Dorian, there's not going to be a choice. They're not going to have a choice. Not because of outside pressure from outside of the state, but because of pressure from inside the Republican Party now, from the governor's office, from the senator's office, from Boeing, from BMW,
which is removing items promoting the flag.
From Michelin. CEOs are starting to come out saying enough. I don't know how these holdouts can beat back the tide of history.
You know, Governor Haley a few years ago made the business case for why to keep the flag up. And now we're seeing, as you just pointed out, that she's going to end up making the business case for why it needs to come
It's a moral case, a human case.
There is a moral case,
also
but the business case is sort of the nail in the coffin for the flag.
It's all coming together.
I think so. There's a political case, too. You saw all of the most powerful politicians on that stage, in South Carolina on that stage yesterday. They will have something to do with the political success of those state representatives and state senators. And there is a conservative Republican state representative, I believe, from the Greenville part of the state, who actually is sponsoring a bill and had been before this to take down the flag. So I do think there's momentum.
And yet, Mike, you have Republican presidential candidates stumbling all over themselves yesterday, not being able to get out of their own way.
But they were very ham-handed in their approach to it. But the incredible thing about this to me is the pace of change, how rapidly it occurred, and how it occurs in one small step of leadership from one person, Governor Nikki Haley, and then boom, everybody follows. It really it's an electrifying story.
You know, we've had, Mika, one tragedy after another that we've been following. Racial tragedies over the past year, starting in Ferguson. And you can look at Ferguson, you can look at Staten Island, you can look at South Carolina, you can look at Baltimore. And the tragedies where things stayed, where the cancer stayed malignant, like Ferguson, you had a lack of understanding from the local leadership, a lack of response. Here in Charleston, you did have that response, but I've got to say to you, I agree that so much of this has been moved by the extraordinary gestures of the victims, families themselves, that showed this community and all of the marchers this weekend. A lot of white marchers out this weekend chanting Black Lives Matter, and you saw the